I had somebody who was with Am whom I contacted and told him that I wanted to see somebody and I wanted to know how much it costs to bring them over. He established a contact with that other person, and the other person said it costs so much.
I wasn't aware they were
And we
going
paid
from
the money.
Thessalonica to Athens.
Yes.
How did this operate? How did they, and when? Was it during the occupation?
During the occupation.
After the deportation had begun?
Yes. Yes. Take them out. They took them out first of the camp. The Baron Hirsch.
Yeah.
When it was already the last step when they were ready to go on the train. From there, they took them out. They had their ways.
Do you have any idea?
Some Greeks. I don't know.
Because that was pretty...
Because I had a friend who also was literally pulled out of the line when they were taking them up to the trains.
Yeah.
And somebody pulled her out in order to save her. She went right back.
Went right back where?
Into the line to go on the train. She went on the train.
You mean she was...
She refused to be hidden. She refused to get away from her parents.
Oh, her parents were...
It was a family tie that was too close. She went. Her whole family died. She escaped.
She survived.
But she survived, but the family died.
Is
And
she now?
she's married in England now. She's in England.
But I'd like to know how they could save people under the noses of the Germans.
They could. Oh, they did that quite often.
Did they did they pay off
If they
Germans?
managed. No, I suppose they went in as politofilaki, which they called, which were people who were guarding the camps, who were Jewish and Greeks, who were guards in the camp, had a special, could go in and out in one way or another. There were not Germans actually guarding the camp. There were Greeks and Jews guarding the camps. And then some could have gotten away, of course. There were always ways.
Was there a Jewish police force in
Yes.
Lanka?
Yes.
Was it very much like the ones that they had in the ghettos in
Yes,
Europe?
exactly.
In other words, there were people who
The same
volunteered
system.
in order to save their own skin and have more food to eat and a better deal. And
Yes, they were.
they were usually pretty darn hard on their fellow Jews.
Some yes, some no, some showed that they were more of what they were in order to be able to maybe save a few. There are stories of those who were, for each one, even for a war criminal, you can find people who will say he saved my life.
Yeah. Do you remember any of these specific
Most
stories?
striking example is one of the doctors in the concentration camps who was performing, the various operations to sterilize people. A famous block C, they called it. Block
Yes.
He, of course, mutilated a lot of people, but a lot of people he saved.
I understand there was a Greek doctor operating in Block C in Auschwitz.
I haven't heard it from people who were in Block C and whom I have seen.
Might
And
have been
who were
Block
able,
C, but I have read testimonies where they only refer to, they'll say there was a French capo or a Greek doctor, without ever naming names or any great specific instances. But I have read in several depositions reference to a Greek doctor in Auschwitz.
A Greek doctor in Auschwitz, there were several, but not in Block C.
Not in Block C.
No, there were. Dr. Cuenca was taken from Salonika. They took him at night one evening. They covered him up with blankets and kidnapped him, and he ended up in Germany.
The Germans took him.
The Germans
Why should
took
they
him.
have to do it like this?
I really don't know, because I think he was under the protectorate of one of other of the Greek government or something. He was a personality anyway.
Yeah. And he practiced medicine in Auschwitz? Did
Yes.
he come back?
Yes, yes.
Where is he now?
He's now in Switzerland. He lives in Switzerland, but he came back to Athens. He was here in Athens for a long time. And he only, after he retired, he said that he's not going to, one of the most outstanding Greek doctors. He was excellent.
And who were some others? You said that Dr. Levis went to, or I've heard that Dr. Levis went to Auschwitz.
Who?
Dr.
Enrico Levi?
The one who is
The head of the community center?
yeah, he's a doctor at the air base.
Yes. I don't know.
I
don't know. I thought he has gone to the camp. There is no doubt. If he has a number on the arm, he was in the camp.
Bergen-Belsen or Auschwitz.
The doctors practiced as doctors in the camps. They were, if you had the specialty of being a doctor, you were better off than the others.
Yes.
Dr. Menashe was also one of the doctors who was in the camps. Maybe that's the one you are referring to. He was not in Block C, but he was greatly involved in working as a doctor in the camp.
Now, is he here in Athens now?
No, he emigrated to the United States.
Do you know where?
New York.
Yeah. I hope that I can find a lot of Greek Jews in New York to interview. I'm going to be there with Jim in December for a week or so. We're both getting physicals there.
Dr. Menashe wrote a book also about the
Yes,
experiences
that's where
of
his name was familiar to me. And
the name of the book was Not All of Them Died.
right.
It's in Greek.
You mentioned this at your house. It's in Greek?
In Greek. I don't know if it has been translated. Of course, it is not a literary book.
But all these
Another
things-
one of the doctors, a Greek doctor who was in the camp, was a doctor from the Dimotichon, whose name was Dr. Naxon or Nahon. I think Nahon was his name. And his son, all his family perished. His son, the only survivor, and himself, was in this camp C. He was incapacitated completely, and his father has been trying to save him with operations, not operations, I mean...
Still today. What
he
happened
has
to
not
his son?
succeeded. He was in this camp C, and they operated on him and completely... removed, I think, his testicles. Yes, I think that's what I never asked questions. It was a very sad case. I remember that. Of course, it was a terrible trauma for the young boy also, who remained an invalid for all his life.
Well, what they're doing for most of them today is giving them massive amounts of male hormones.
They did. His father has been doing that all along, and his purpose, actually, they emigrated to the United States also, and his purpose was trying to save his boy up to a certain point.
Yeah.
This boy that I was telling you that we tried to bring over to Athens through the Italians, his brother was also in a Block C, but he died as a result of the operation.
Well, these Jewish policemen in Salonika, do you remember any particular stories about them, about their behavior, or anything they did?
That they behaved very, very badly, that's what I heard, and that they didn't, but anyway, they were all deported.
How many of them were
And
there?
all of them died. I don't know. I couldn't give you an accurate information.
Because this is something that these little facts don't come up usually. I suspected there probably was, because everywhere the Germans went and the Jewish community lasted at all, there would be a Judenrat. And,
Yes, of course. The Jewish community
and-
was the Judenrat, and the head was the chief rabbi of Salonika, of whom you probably heard.
What is your opinion of Koretz?
It's hard to tell. In Salonika, he was considered a traitor. Whether he was really a traitor, whether he didn't know, whether he was of German descent, whether he believed what the Germans were telling him, nobody knows.
What do you think? What do you know about him?
What I know is that he was definitely a traitor. But one cannot say that for any man unless one is sure, and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I cannot say.
I have an article on him from Yad Vashem I'll bring in for you to see. It's a completely inconclusive article. It's titled New Facts on the Case of the Chief Rabbi, but there are no new facts given. It's simply one man's...
In Salonika, you will not find one of the survivors of the camp who will tell you that he was not a traitor. Not one.
Well, one man who was a Salonika Jew, who's now in Athens, has told me that Koretz did indeed collaborate. He did indeed betray the Jews, but it wasn't because he was an evil man, but because he was stupid and naive. That he...
That's what I told you. That's what I told you.
I don't so cultured and so...
Exactly.
They gave us Brahms and Mendelssohn and Mozart. How could they do this?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Maybe
but
he was too...
He was an evil man.
No. He was not an evil man. No. But that he definitely was responsible for the death of the Salonika Jews. Well, that also one cannot say 100%. Yeah. That he was stupid, that he believed what... Yes, that is true. But even if he had warned them, even if he had said, whoever can run should run, even then, I'm not sure that many Jews of Salonika would go. If you knew the mentality of the Jews of Salonika, they were the very passive kind of people. Very, they tell us that, do that. I know it from my family. My uncle, who I told you we brought from Salonika here, he didn't want to come. We had to press him. We had to tell him, look, so I will go to the camp. So what will happen? They are going to kill you. They are not going to kill me. I will have to work. I'll work. I have worked all my life. It will be hard work. It will be hardship, okay? But rather than flee, go through this, because if they catch me, they will shoot me.
And this
was the general attitude.
Yeah.
And the old people, they will not kill the old people. So the young ones have to support them. How will they eat? I had an old aunt who, when they told her, you are going to go to the concentration? Yes, I'll go to the concentration camp. She prepared the rucksack, put on heavy boots. An old woman, and she was for her age, and she just walked along with all the others. She wanted to go. As if going to an excursion. She prepared her heavy clothes, everything, a heavy coat, to go to Germany. It was cold there.
But by this time, the rumors were getting out. People had escaped from Auschwitz and Treblinka and were warning the world.
No. Nothing. We found out of what was happening, of the camps. We still believed at the time, of course, that it was rough. And the Germans, if you didn't obey, if you didn't do things well, would shoot you. If you stole or did this or did that, they will kill you. But the crematoria, the way it was organized, who knew?
You heard no rumors or anything?
Nothing.
Not even rumors to not to believe.
Of course. Rumors not to believe, that's why we destroyed the archives and we left. That's why we decided to go into hiding and not go and register.
Yeah.
But my uncle, who came here, he said he came in a train dressed as a peasant, he had a false identity card. When the Germans checked, he thought he would die. He was the type of man that was afraid of his shadow. When he came here to Athens and they started persecution here as well, I'm not going into hiding. Finished with me, I'm not going. I'll go to the concentration camp. I won't live through this agony again. He went and registered with the Germans. He was lucky he was a Spanish national.
So he survived.
He didn't survive. He died of typhoid, but he didn't go through the cremation and the gas chambers.
Where did he die? In Bergen-Belsen?
Bergen-Belsen.
And what about his wife? Did you say
She went along. Her daughter went along, but they survived. The daughter and my aunt and my cousin survived.
It is all really, it's just hard today to imagine people sitting passively. Of course, even today we see signs of horrible things and people say it couldn't happen again. Oh my.
No, that same thing couldn't happen again. I don't think that this could ever happen again. But the poisoning has been so much because a lot of anti-Semitism still exists in Germany. It has poisoned the people.
Yeah.
And the Germans were not anti-Semites before. Before Hitler's and before 1936, I mean, ask any German Jew who has lived in Germany.
Well, there was a golden age for Jews in Germany during two different periods, once in the 19th century.
They won't say the same thing about Austrians. They say that Austrians were always anti-Semites, but not the Germans. And yet, today, unfortunately, there's still this poisoning has subsided. It has influenced many other countries. This is the bad thing about anti-Semitism, unfortunately. Well, anyway, this organized, scientific way of genocide, I don't think will ever happen again.
God forbid.
God forbid. God forbid, but it's so cruel. What I have always been saying, and what still I cannot swallow and accept, how could women who have see those children, innocent children, when they look at you with their innocent eyes, and you know that they will be suffocated in the gas chambers. How could you do it? How could you?
You've heard about that woman in New York, haven't you, who was recently caught? She was a housewife in a small town in upper New York.
No.
And someone recognized her and said, this is the woman who was running one of the branches in the death camp, who had two big dogs who would tear people apart. And all of her neighbors said, no, she's a gentle, nice woman. She couldn't have done any of these things. They took her to trial. It's been going on now for about a year in the States. And it's been proven that she was indeed the woman who ran...
This is something that is unbelievable. This is something I cannot... How can a woman be cruel to a child? To a child.
It's certainly beyond me. I can't understand it either. And yet, the women, when a woman is cruel, she is far more cruel than any man could be. Far more vicious. The women in the Gestapo were more feared than the men in the Gestapo.
They were, but to me it's something I cannot understand. I cannot understand.
No, nor
I can't understand that you can be cruel to an old person, but That I don't know. Maybe an old person sometimes is not nice to look at. It's not, but a child.
Yeah, a child. Oh, I look at Jessica, and I think of what it was 25 years ago. What would happen to her? And you know, there she sits, her big blue eyes, and her trusting smile.
Isn't it so? It's. I mean, the child that trusts you, and when you see fear in those eyes, in the child's eyes, that moves you all inside.
Yeah.
How can you? It's beyond me, and yet it shows that human beings can be more cruel sometimes than you can ever believe it. And
back to Salonika, let's get off the subject.
yes, it's a horrible subject, and you know, it's something that will regularly come up whenever Jewish people meet. Necessarily the conversation, you can be in the midst of a very nice, the conversation sort of turns in such a way that you will end up with those horrible
It's not
stories.
Not that we're so much dwelling on it, we're trying to understand.
Well, somebody will speak about experiences, a word that you will say will remind him, that reminds me of this and this and this, and it comes back. It's having lived through this, you suddenly...
For me, having studied it now so much and working with people who live through it, for me it's as though I live through it now. And I find myself bringing up the subject in almost every conversation with non-Jews, who are so ignorant of it. They want to be ignorant. And I find myself, and
they can't believe it.
No,
they can't believe it. Take even a Jew who has been living in America. Unless he has been exposed to a contact of a person who has lived that, he can't believe it. So how much, it couldn't be that bad. Couldn't be that bad.
They don't want to.
They don't want. I had a friend in school, and when we were liberated, before we were liberated, I met her, and I said, look, this is happening. She knew that I had my boyfriend in Salonika. I said, this is happening. I'm worried about him. Oh, it can't be that bad. Don't believe those things. I mean, people talk, but don't believe it. It isn't possible. And then she looked me up. She tried to find me after the war to see whether I was alive. And I told her, you know what happened, this and this. Oh, it's exaggerated. It can't be true. I mean, it's unbelievable. She had grown up with German governess. So have I.
Yeah.
We have a German upbringing, and we couldn't possibly believe that this was possible. My German governess, when one of the children was sick, she would sit up all night.
Yeah.
More than a mother, I would say. So we couldn't possibly believe that this woman could ever have been involved in a thing like that. We found out that she had been involved.
She had been?
Of course.
How?
Members of the party, her brother fought in the army, he fell during the war, he died, but they were members of the Nazi party.
Well, you said that she was with you until the war began, and she went back to Germany?
Of course, she went back to Germany because they found everybody, all those were fifth columnists. And somebody who has, loved a person that was in the house for years, like your own mother, you can't believe it. And that's the case of my friend also. She had a governess from her mother down to herself and her sister, and this governess was still living with them after they were grown women.
And how about today? Have you ever met her again? Does she believe in
Oh,
that?
yes. Yeah, she believes, of course she believes. There have been too many writings, but the figures still sound astounding to her.
Still?
That 6 million, how can that possibly be? It's obvious. A figure like that.
She doesn't accept it completely.
No, not completely. Not completely. She cannot believe it completely.
In Salonika, during the occupation, did the Nazis take Jews to be servants and prostitutes and such as they did in other countries?
I haven't heard that.
Because you know, in every other country they occupied, they took all the attractive Jewish girls to be prostitutes.
I heard that in the camps. I heard that happening in the camps, and I heard about one of the girls from Salonika that I knew very well, who died after that, who had been abused.
But during the occupation?
No, in Salonika I haven't heard of that. On the contrary, in Salonika I heard that they considered that anything Jewish was repulsive. They didn't even want to get close to a Jewish girl.
That's it. Well, of course, that's what Hitler's regulation was and law, was that no German should defile himself with a Jewish girl. And yet they did take Jewish girls all over Europe and put them in the Wehrmacht.
Yes. I heard that in only one instance of one of the girls from Salonika who died as a result of that. She was...
Because after the war, they had the rabbis had to make a decision as to whether a woman who had been a prostitute for the Germans could be accepted back to her family and her husband if she had one and all of this. And the rabbis decided that if she had the number and the P,
yes.
I think it was a P, that she was twice a martyr and twice holy for having done this. Because
yeah, they didn't have a P. A P because she was a prostitute. I don't know.
I think it was a P. It was something like that.
I haven't seen any such. All those who came back have a number and then a triangle under it.
Yeah, the triangle indicated Jew. But I was interested to know whether any servants...
No, I haven't heard any such instance.
Yeah.
No. Put to denigrating labels, yes. But not prostitutes, no. No, on the contrary. And then in the camps I was told that the girls anyway looked so unattractive that didn't... The moment they got in the camp, yes, but afterwards, all the hair shaven...
It was always a case before that taking them from the towns where they were, when the Germans moved in, they would round up the pretty ones.
No, that didn't happen in Salonika, and there were quite a few very good-looking girls. Didn't happen, just this one, and that I think because one of the Germans had a fancy.
I think I better go and catch a taxi before they...